Over 160 million children around the world are forced to work. Our reporter Lethiwe Mdluli is at a Durban-based safe house for vulnerable children. This is ahead of the 5th Global Conference on the Elimination of Child Labour, which is launching today in Durban. Let's go to her now live. Lethiwe, thank you very much for your time this morning. A lot of work ahead for governments globally to deal with child labour. And in South Africa in particular, what would you say is the situation in terms of how bad it is in the way the government take care of children?
Well, Rafiwa, I'd say here in South Africa, the main biggest problem that a lot of children and communities are dealing with are children-headed households. I have been engaging with the center's manager, Vanessa Singh, who has told us that they actually rescue or help a lot of children that are heading households that they shouldn't be actually heading. I'm also going to be speaking to two young men who have been saved from the situation that they were facing. But of course, all of this is happening ahead of the 5th Global Conference that aims at eliminating child labour. The President, of course, will be opening the conference today, and we'll get to hear more about some of the interventions that government is currently going under to help these children. But I want to bring in these two young men right now who are going to share their life stories. I'm first joined by the first gentleman. He is 17 years old, and I believe that he has been facing some troubles over the past few years. Take us through what your situation was like. What did you experience as a young child?
Okay, so I grew up without my mom. My mom died when I was so young. I don't know my father where he is. But then growing up, I was exposed to drugs where I lived. I started doing drugs at the age of 13 when I grew up. So the person that was selling me drugs, because I didn't have the money to buy those drugs, he then put me into selling them. So he would give me them in return. When I started selling them, I was 14. I started selling them. I sold them maybe for 2 years, and then I was arrested for selling drugs. I came to the center. I came here and I caught social workers and I caught the SIRS. And then when we're doing programs that helps young people like me. We're doing wake-up call programs on substance abuse, where we are taught the dangers of substance abuse. And then we're doing also programs about how to behave as a young person and how to treat yourself and treat your families and your community. We're also doing like what do I call wake-up call, where we're taught how to respect other people, how to respect yourself, young people, and also old people. I was also taught here that an old person that makes a young person do wrong things, he is the one that's wrong, or she is the one that's wrong. Because I was also put in that situation where I was told by an old person to sell drugs. And I also sold those drugs so I could get drugs, because I went inside the substance abuse where I couldn't help myself but do drugs. And then I came to the center. They taught us how to respect people, and told us not to do drugs because it kills a young person's future and also damages your body.
I also, Rafiwa, want to bring in another young man here. He was exposed to raising his young siblings at a very young age. I want to ask him about how this has affected him as a young person as well. So, about your situation. You had to take care of Inganzakini at a very young age.
Abazali bami bobabili basaphila, so ngaso sonke isikhathi bebangabantu ade bengaboni ngasolinye, so abantu ababanga ngisho nazo imali grant, so benako ukuxabana kakhulu belwe phambi kwesingane. So ekugcineni kwesikhathi ke ngalezo zimo bagcine abantu abahlukanayo, ubaba wasethutha yohlala emakhaya, uma wayesesala ngapha edolobheni. So ngangifisene nako kumele ukuthi nginakekele ingane zasekhaya ngazi ukuthi ngaso sonke isikhathi silala lidlile. So in that case kumele kube nemali engizoba nayo ukuze ngikwazi ukuthi ngibeke isinkwa etafuleni. So ingane zasekhaya bengumuntu ohambe bamba ama-piece job imizi nemizi ukuze ukwazi ukuthi zilale zilile, ngibuye nesinkwa endlini zilale zilile. So bengimele ngenze sure ukuthi before nami ngesikoleni zigezile ziyakwazi ukuthi zesikoleni. So after that-ke ubaba ube umuntu osithathayo ngenxa yokuthi ethi uma futhi akalungile akakulungele ukuthi ahlale nathi. So nathi sihamba kodwa ngokuthi siyomvakashela. So kufika ukuthi ngale ubaba akabangesathanda-ko ukuthi siphindele emumva siyohlala noma akabangesafuni. So yonke into yarefeyelwa kubaba, ngisho i-grant yasiphuma ngakubaba sekuthiwa uyena sohlala naye. So naye-ke waqala-ke naye waba nezenzo ezimbi, especially kumina-ke njengoba bengumfana umuntu ongihlukumezayo kakhulu because of izimo-ke. So kwasengenela nomakhelwane, so sabona nje sekutheleka ama-social worker. So because of the situation kwakumele nami-ke ngingahambi ngedwa, kangeke kuthathe mina ngumfana kushiya ingane zasekhaya zamantombazane. Sahamba sonke sayohlala endaweni ekhona futhi yamasiteli ekuthiwa ilili of the valley. So khona sihlale unyaka owodwa, kwathi ngoDisemba sahamba ngoba sahamba siwumuntu oya uma besimgcini ezama yena-ke umuntu ozamayo. So mesifika kumana the same day yasivange sihlala ekhaya kamkhulu. So mesithola sathola ukuthi usehlala nomuntu ekusezomele simbize ngobaba wethu oyi-stepfather. So ubaba lona-ke ubephuza yena ebhema kodwa yena ubesebenza, so uma akasebenzi. So ngaso sonke isikhathi yonke into ngingasho ukuthi besiyibheka kuyena, noma yonke into futhi naye ngokwakho bebheka kuyena ubaba lo. So because of lezo zinto-ke naye ubaba lo ube umuntu osincikuselelayo, ngisho nange-shelter singasakwazi ukuthi sihlale ngokukhululeka, noma idimanda iy'mali ey'ningi baxabanela iy'mali. Uma ahamba khiphe iy'mali ey'ningi emabhenki bagcine abantu abaxabanayo. So ubaba lo ube nazo nezinto njenge-security zokuthi ayivikele njengey'bhamu. So begcine kuqhuma iy'bhamu khona la emagcekeni. So because of futhi lezo zimo-ke kwamele futhi ngiphinde ngiqale phansi manje ngibheke ingane zasekhaya because besingasanakiwe. Kwayimina futhi ozoqala phansi azondle ngoba ngisho nokudla endlini besigcine singasakutholi esincisha ngenxa yokuthi azizona iy'ngane zakhe. So emva kwaloko-ke ngicathi futhi nakhona futhi kwangenelelo makhelwane ngoba sabona kutheleka amaphoyisa. So sasesihamba-ke sibekwa endaweni ebine-force murder eHammersdale la sihlale khona nje iy'nyanga nezimbadla. Then sasesithathwa-ke ngokuhlukana kwethu sahlala eGreenfield. Then ukuhamba kwesikhathi ngase ngumuntu omuvayo-ke khona sengizohlala ngala ney'ngane zasekhaya. So in Valley View ngihlale kahle, angeke ngiqamba amanga. Saloke ngifikile ngoDisemba yonke into right, ngisaney'nyangana nje ezimbadla, konke kuhamba kahle. Engikujabulela kakhulu ukuthi nemfundo futhi ngiyayithola, ngiyakwazi ukufunda akusafani njengakuqala. Ngiyalibona ushintsho ey'fundweni zami ngoba ngisho uThemba wami nguphasile. So kule ndawo basifundisa kakhulu nangokuzithanda wena, nangokuthanda umphakathi nangokuthanda umphakathi wakho, nanokuthi empilweni kubalulekile ukuthi uhlale unethemba, ungagive up, uhlale unamaphupho. Iphupho lakho ungalilahli ithawula ngoba ekugcineni kosuku uzophumelela. So basifundisa nangezinto ey'ningi, substance abuse, indlela zabantu zokuhlukumezeka. So nami njengomuntu okhule phansi kwaso lesimo angifisa ukuthi ngibone omunye umuntu ekhula phansi kwaso. So ngiyafisa ukuthi ngelinye ilanga ngibe umuntu oright empilweni, ngikwazi ukuthi ngiprovide iy'ngane zasekhaya, ngisize nalabo futhi abakusona lesimo lesengikhule kusona.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Ngiyabonga.
So, Rafiwa, these are two young men that have been exposed to very hard situations at a very young age. The last young man that I just spoke to, he had to take care of his siblings at a very young age because his parents broke up and they left them alone. He went through the whole situation while also taking care of his two younger siblings. And he is saying that during that situation, he couldn't focus in school and they were being abused by their stepfather father in the process, while their father was also abusing them. And they've been moved around quite a lot. And you can just imagine the kind of trauma these young people are faced with when they're actually going through this. He is saying, though, that since he has been rescued by the center and he's been receiving help from social workers, he is now able to focus in school, and his future plans is to make it in life so that he can take care of his siblings and also help other children that are faced with the same situation. It's quite a sad situation, and of course we will be hearing from the president and government some of the interventions that they have to help these children who are faced with such situations. And I know that for this conference, young ambassadors, children who've been through this situation, will be actually joining in, and they will have an input on what should happen to help their peers.
No, absolutely. Some traumatic events that those two young men spoke about in their experience living in South Africa as children without the right kind of support that they need. Thank you very much, Lethiwe Mdluli, joining us there from Durban.